Thank you. Chair Langley, can you talk about why we care about what's happening in Africa right now? I mean, if you tell the American taxpayer, why are we there? Why are we spending the money we're spending there?
Thanks for the question, Senator. For access and influence. Today's global events, ranging from Russian Federation's war in the Ukraine to the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, directly impact the lives of millions of Africans. Terrorism, poverty, food insecurity, climate change, and mass migration shatter African lives. These factors sow the seeds of violent extremism and Russian exploitation across entire regions of the continent. AFRICOM's campaign revolves around central themes of ensuring strategic access, countering threats to the homeland and U.S. interests, preparing for and responding to crisis, and lastly, bolstering our allies and partners. This campaign places our African partners at the center, achieving positive change by executing African-led and U.S.-enabled operations focused on our shared objectives. In today's dynamic environment, our whole of government partners require appropriate resourcing. I strongly advocate for our State Department and USAID partners to receive the resources they need to guarantee our combined success. In Africa, modest investments and resources go a long way towards achieving our national security interests. Africa faces many challenges, but also offers even more opportunities. With our African partners at the forefront, reinforced by our efforts and the efforts of our allies, we will continue to gain ground towards achieving lasting stability, security, and prosperity on this crucial continent. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much, General Langley. Last year, you spoke about the Wagner Group's activities, and though there's been some changes in the Wagner Group, they are still a presence in your AO, I assume.
Yes, Chairman, there is.
And last year, you indicated how they are really extorting these countries rather than helping them in any way, shape, or form. The question arises, what are we doing in terms of an information campaign to try to inform governments and the people of the dangers that these groups, not just Wagner groups, but other entities are posing?
Chairman, thanks for that question, because I would say the Russian Federation's narrative drowned out the U.S. governments in the past years. They were accelerant. The Russian Federation, not just through Wagner, stoked a lot of the instability across the Sahel. They did this through misinformation, disinformation campaigns. So I see how we could double down in our efforts is through our own information campaign, but matched with our assurance efforts across the whole of government, just not building military and security capacity, but all the story needs to be told about the successes of USAID and State Department collectively in all of our operations, activities, and investments.
Thank you. Chair Langley, can you talk about why we care about what's happening in Africa right now? I mean, if you tell the American taxpayer, why are we there? Why are we spending the money we're spending there?
Thanks for the question, Senator. For access and influence. I'd say that a number of countries are at the tipping point of actually being captured by the Russian Federation, as they are spreading some of their false narratives across Libya. And from a strategic answer piece, access influence across the whole Maghreb, that is NATO's southern flank. We need to be able to maintain access and influence across the Maghreb from Morocco all the way to Libya. The PRC and Russia are also remaining exploitative where possible and coercive when necessary. They want that ground. They want power projection capabilities. So for the most part, the rest of the continent is also for mining concessions, whether it be gold or rare earth minerals. Both of them have a long-range plan. But I think at the accelerated pace, the Russian Federation is really trying to take over Central Africa as well as the Sahel.
China's been investing in economic infrastructure developments in Africa since the 90s. What are the operational advantages that China has over our efforts in Africa, and what are we doing to help out on that?
So, Senator, right now, China has a plan, a long-range plan, but they're coming in with their Belt and Road initiatives. But I think they do have global aspirations for a security construct to get a decisive advantage over the United States. We need activities and investments to deter that. Especially engaging with our partners, our African partners, and telling them to ensure that they're not militarized. So this takes information campaign that's successful, but also assurance actions of building partnership and capacity where they won't need China in their false offerings of security construct.
General Langley, you briefly mentioned earlier the state's partnership program that the National Guard has and how they work with our global allies and partners to make sure we have stronger relationships between them. As part of the state partnership with Liberia, the Michigan National Guard engineers have trained and they've built critical military infrastructure as well as helped to combat infectious diseases in Liberia. That's gone through some significant challenges, as you know, in years past. These partnerships advance state partner priorities as well as objectives of combatant commands, including AFRICOM. So my question for you, General, is if you would expand before this committee on your earlier comments about the strategic importance of the National Guard State Partnership Program in your command, and specifically how have Liberia and other countries benefited from this ongoing relationship with the Guard, and how do you see that developing in the future?
Senator, thanks for that question, because what myself and General Hokerson have been laying out into the rest of the decade is a plan that will get more strategic partner programs across the continent. And here's how it helps. In our overall competition with the PRC and the Russian Federation, they can't match that. The way we build and partner with our countries, building with our African partners, builds capacity and capabilities, and also gives them appreciation for the rule of law of armed conflict, and working with their partners, and makes them even more resilient in getting into their own civil society and closing the gap between civ-mil, some of the drivers of instability. Partnering with just in California and Nigeria and others have been the bedrock of stabilizing and increasing capability in our African partners. That is unmatched by our competitors.
My question for you is, how is AFRICOM establishing military academic partnerships with African nations to counter China's efforts in this area?
Senator, thanks for that question, because that leads into my request for more international military and education training for our African partners. They treasure our values. They acknowledge and best practices of a civilian-led military. And what we offer in our value proposition is why they keep asking me for more seats. Morocco, I was there a few weeks ago and talked to their higher learning of their command and staff and top-level schools, and they said, we're replicating what you guys do in the United States, because they keep asking us for more seats, because the United States doesn't offer enough. That is also competing with the Russian Federation. They're beating us 12-1, Senator.
Wow.
So 12-1, and then all the statistics you just stated there in the PRC trying to get influence. They are trying to unseat us as a security answer of building capacity and capability to meet all the threats these African countries have to endure.
So can you talk a little bit about how platforms like Armed Overwatch can provide, some important capability against extremist groups?
Yes, Senator. Because as I was saying that, in my statements that we need more capability and capacity, and especially in our positioning on the continent, and especially in the Sahel. because I said we were at a tipping point, and there's modest investment for us to do the whole tasking for indications and warnings, especially with the metastasis, with the violent extremist groups, JNM and ISIS-Sahel, bordering towards the northern borders of the Gulf of Guinea countries. Any increased ISR and expanding my ability to give a persistent stare, if you will, Senator, is going to be helpful.
What do you have now doing that mission?
Right now, we just have a COCO, contractor-owned, contractor-operated ISR, and a B-350, which is actually COCO.
So how many aircraft total?
Right now, I would cover that with you in closed session, and as far as how many platforms we have.
Do you feel what
collectively.
you have is enough?
At this time, given this emergent threat, Senator, no, I don't.
In addition to its current partnership on the African continent with the Republic of Botswana, can you please provide an update on the state partnership program in AFRICOM, particularly on the new partnership with Malawi and Zambia?
Yes, Senator. This was just talking to General Hokanson, especially at the anniversary last summer. We see that outsized effects of the institution of state partnership programs. I wish we had more, because in competing with our competitors of Russian Federation and the People's Republic of China, they have nothing to match that. So these are the assurance actions that really solidifies us as a partner of choice. Other countries see this and they ask when are they going to get their country partnership. So this vastly outweighs some of their rhetoric, and when I say their, I'm talking about the competitors, of how they're trying to replicate what we're trying to do, because we already know that Africa, within Africa, the Russian Federation wants to establish a ground game that resembles a state partnership program, but it doesn't have the values and doesn't have the values, the democratic values of what we bring, that is the intrinsic values for stability, security and prosperity with our African partners.
Thank you, General. So how do short-term continuing resolution CRs, how do they impact the execution of the state partnership program?
They participate in building resiliency and getting on the continent and partnering with them. So there's no new starts. So if they're going to be part of a exercise such as like African Lion, I'm not sure if the Utah National Guard can actually come this year, because that's on this next budget's money that hasn't been appropriated yet.
Thank you both, Chairman.